Katerina Rakovska се казвам от WWF. Ще говоря на английски, понеже презентацията ми е на английски и се надявам. Ако някой нещо не разбира, просто кажете и разбрах, че тук има хора, които могат да помогнат, така аз мога да ви кажа на български. Hello everybody, my name is Katerina. I work for the WWF and I will speak in English, but I may switch to Bulgarian if necessary. I will speak about the other aspect of Natura 2000, which is the opportunities that it presents. On the one hand, Natura 2000 is an obligation, yes, legal obligation. On the other hand, it is an opportunity. Why do we create Natura 2000? The easy answer is because the European Commission wants it from us, but also we create it because of the value of nature, because we want to protect nature, and because this nature provides services to people. You probably all know what are ecosystem services. This is the protection of wood, the fresh water, the regulation of climate, the protection from natural hazards, the erosion control, the clean air, the opportunities for recreation. All these are ecosystem services. And if we have preserved nature, we are preserving these ecosystem services. And it's quite important that the goods and services produced by people, they may increase in the future, but the services of nature are not likely to increase. What is the difference between Natura 2000 and national protected areas? I know you've had a presentation on national and nature parks earlier this week. The national protected areas, these are the national parks, the nature parks, the strict nature reserves, the nature reserves, the natural landmarks. They are created by the country, depending on the value of each territory, on the initiative of a group of people. It's an ad hoc thing. It's a long story. The establishment of protected areas starts from 1933, and it's a completely, really ad hoc is the word, because the foresters, usually foresters, were taking the initiative for creating them. We like this forest, let's protect it. We like that forest, let's protect it. In terms of Natura 2000, the approach is much more systematic, because there the basis is a list of species, a list of natural habitats. If you need to have a certain coverage of these habitats within the network, and that's it. I mean, it's a much more scientific and systematic process, and there are a certain criteria, and the lists, they are not of national importance. They're not important for not only for Bulgaria, but they are of community importance. They are important at the EU level. Usually the species and habitats there, they have to be present in more than one country. That's the community importance. And of course, when national protected areas are designated, it's a process managed only in Bulgaria. That's decided by Bulgarian institutions and Bulgarian civil society. But the Natura 2000 sites, their designation is agreed with the European Commission. So it's a much more complicated, much longer process. Why was Natura 2000 seen in Bulgaria as an opportunity? Because before we joined the European Union, national protected areas were only 5%. This is a very, very low figure compared to other European countries. And and many valuable places in terms of nature, in terms of species, in terms of people's affection to them, were outside this network. So NGOs and many people, civil groups, saw in Natura 2000 the opportunity to have more of our country protected. That's why it was a big campaign to have the network as proposed. Of course, there are scientific criteria to propose the network, depending on the existence of species and habitats, but to have this really in place and adopted, it was a big fight and big lobbying, but we managed, and this is, I have to say, a big success of the nature conservation movement in Bulgaria, was to have this coverage. Bulgaria, together with Slovenia and Slovakia, are one of the countries with the top coverage of Natura 2000 site in all the European Union. Of course, the reason for this is that Bulgaria is among the top countries in terms of its biodiversity. You know, this is because of the diverse climate and relief conditions and various such factors. When we talk about national and nature parks, most of them coincide with Natura 2000 sites. In terms of management of Natura 2000, if you strictly look at the Habitats Directive, what is meant is protection, conservation measures, monitoring and assessment. Monitoring of what's happening, of are the species feeling well, are they in favorable conservation status, and is this changing or not, do we have to take any measures? That's the, strictly speaking, scientific side of this. But if we look at management of the Natura 2000 more widely, it also has other aspects, like how do we secure this protection? One of the instruments Andrea actually mentioned is the specific assessment. When an idea comes for a project or for an initiative, it has to be assessed. Is it good for the Natura site or is it not? This is the so-called appropriate assessment. These sites have to be designated in order for them to become legally. They have to have designation orders. There has to be management plans. Although management plans are not obligatory. There may be or may not be management plans, but designation orders are obligatory. The other aspect of Natura 2000 in terms of the wider picture is that to have really a network. For the moment we have a set of sites. You saw the map here and there. But turning them into a real network, connecting them through biocorridors or stepping stones, that's another challenge. And the other challenge is to use Natura 2000 as a tool for sustainable development, what we are trying to demonstrate here in Chiprovtsi. Because the biggest aims of Natura 2000 is to preserve species and the habitats, and to use Natura as a tool based on business that is compatible with nature conservation. Usually the main sectors for this, of course, are the forestry, the agriculture and ecotourism, but also others. I will say a few examples. For the moment in Bulgaria we have some good examples in terms of development of ecotourism. You know that this is tourism that is based on the natural values, bringing income for the local people, and that's a very important principle. And keep the disturbance to the absolute minimum. There are different instruments for them. Part of them are, for example, the certification systems of ecotourism. You know that the Bulgarian Association for Alternative Tourism They're called BAC. They're members of the coalition for the Nature Coalition. They have a certificate called Greenhouse that is given to local family hotels that offer local food, local tradition, and try to introduce measures for preserving nature or saving energy. There are a number of other factors. The other certification system that is present in Bulgaria is that of PAN parks. PAN parks is a network of wilderness areas. They are working to protect wilderness. Currently in Bulgaria, there's 2 PAN parks, members of the networks. This is Central Balkan National Park and Rila National Park. Their purpose is to try and give advice to the park administration how to manage the protected area well, but also their condition for certification is to have a plan for sustainable tourism around the park. And this is together with people who are developing business around the park. They certify local business partners. And for example, if they certify a small hotel, the idea is that the hotel will get the logo of PAN parks, they will get advertisement, but at the same time they will tell the visitors about the value of the park. They will give information and spread the word for the opportunities for nature conservation. The other type of tourism that is part of ecotourism, which is starting in Bulgaria, what we talked that to have the minimum possible impact on the natural resources, for example with bird watching. This is Atanasovsku Lake in Burgas, and this is a hide. And this is a very important principle that all these people who come to enjoy the birds in Atanasovsku Lake, you know, this is an incredible place where you can observe most of the wading birds that are common for Bulgaria. You can see them. If you haven't been there, I really recommend it. But this hide represents the main idea is that there is a way for people to come and enjoy, but not to disturb. This is the main thing. So here you can see there's 6-7 people, but the birds do not see them. So there is this enjoyment, and but at the same time the birds are still there. They're not bothered, and this is happening more and more, you know, in Majarovo. There are also such hides. So this is already starting, and people are learning how they could do it. Enjoy nature, but have a least possible impact. The other sector, which is of importance in terms of development of Natura 2000, is of course farming and agriculture. You know that organic farming in Bulgaria is a growing sector. More and more organic farming goods are exported from Bulgaria. Unfortunately, not enough bought in Bulgaria because they're too expensive. But there is a lot to be changed in this. But this is something that can be developed in Natura 2000. Of course, it can develop outside of Natura 2000, but we like to think of Natura 2000 as the models of all the businesses that should be happening in the best possible way for people and for nature. Also, you've probably heard about the opportunities in the rural development plans with the EU money. What is there specifically for Natura 2000 is the Natura 2000 compensation measures. For the moment, they're active for agricultural lands, but in the next funding period, there will be compensation measures for forestry as well. The idea there is that if there are restrictions that lead to financial losses, they need to be compensated by these payments. There's another opportunity for Natura 2000, but also outside Natura, is the so-called agri-environmental measures that are for voluntary measures. This is for things that are not obligatory by the management plan or the designation order, but that the farmers do in addition to improve the area. I'll give you an example. This is, for example, the type of mowing that they do. They need to do that type of mowing to avoid the time when, for example, the corn crake, the little corn crakes hatch. So it is either earlier or after. So the farmers get compensation for that. And this is something I saw quite recently. I was really, really impressed.
But why white?
Why the wine is white?
Our colleague Maya, who is based in Russia, she works together with Russian Kilom Nature Park. She brought this bottle of wine to the office. And these guys that are producing the wine, they have their vineyard in Lomovete Natura 2000 site. Lomovete is it's a little bit bigger Natura site, bigger than the Russian Kilom Nature Park. But this is how I see the future. To use Natura 2000 as a logo, which can sell your product. And these people are smart. They're just they're selling this wine abroad, and it obviously this works. And for me, this is the future. And I'm very happy that there are people that are actually doing this. So this is an opportunity, and there are people starting to use this opportunity to make it live. This is not. This is just. You cannot see it anyway. The thing was that. The thing was.
This is not transparent. It's not transparent.
Okay, forget about this. The idea was that we're a place of not used opportunities, usually in Bulgaria, and it shows how little from 2007 to 2011 this money that are available for organic farming, for agri-environment, for Natura, they're just starting almost at the end of the funding period. The whole funding period for EU money is from 2007 to 2013, but here for Natura 2000 compensation measures, they are here in 2011. Of course, this will improve, this will change, and it's for 2012 and 13 it's more, but again, it's wasted opportunities. This is, I mean, we are very good at wasting opportunities. That's a pity for me, but it's a fact. This is another very, very interesting example for businesses that are compatible to with nature conservation. This is, again, Atanasos Lake, which you probably know. There's a salt production company. And even their colleagues from Bulgarian Biodiversity Foundation and BirdLife, they have a project there together with the private company to get money to help the company continue with their salt production, because it is the salt production that keeps that habitat, because it's a semi-natural habitat. That's something we missed to say from the beginning, that Natura 2000 keeps not only fully natural habitats, but habitats that have been created by people, like the meadows, like the pastures, like the salt paints. The salt paints, in order to produce the salt, they keep this very shallow water that is very, very good for many wading birds to feed, to nest. So this symbiosis between this type of business and the birds is very, very important. But because it's not an intensive business, it's an extensive business, they need help in order to continue to make this business. So that's why our colleagues from these two NGOs that are trying to help the business to continue to be. Because if they're not there, there are plans of the Burgas municipality, and this is also true for Pomorje, just to take out the land, to construct resorts, to construct some houses, hotels, no more salt paints, no more birds. So this is a very, very good example how these things can go together, and it is worth investing in that. The other trouble that we're having now is that this rural development program does not give money to help this type of business, which is good for nature. And there's a lot of work to be done in terms of lobbying to try to direct the funds where they're needed, where they would help both nature and business. And this is another interesting example. This is Bulgarka Nature Park, which again with EU money from the Environmental Operational Program, they have bought a herd of sheep. This is a rare breed. It's Tara Planina breed. I'm not sure what it is called in English. In order to graze the pastures that are on the ridge on the top of the mountain. And in this way, they're doing several things. They preserve a rare breed. They provide the maintenance of these pastures, because if they're not grazed, the bushes come up and overtake them. And so they have a rare breed goal that they achieve. They have a conservation goal. They maintain the pastures, which are important for many animals and for many plants that grow in the pastures. And they produce local dairy products. And they also produce these beautiful blankets from the wool that are sold in the Nature Conservation Center, which is at the end of Etara. If you go to Etara, near Gabrovo, the nature park have built their Nature Conservation Center, and you can buy these blankets from the sheep that graze in the ridge. So this is a very good example how with this sheep, they're both a conservation project, a farming project, and a local development project. So these type of projects do exist, and sometimes there are people with good initiative, like the park director to Bulgarka. They seize the opportunity and give this example that this is possible and this can happen. And when we go to the forestry sector, which also has a lot to do with the management of Natura 2000 sites, what is important to say that you know that it's forests have their forest management plans that undergo appropriate assessments. They have the forestry agency have adopted the regimes and measures for the forestry habitat types in Natura 2000. All this sounds very good. It's for the moment just in paper, but still we are one step ahead, and at least we have them on paper. It's a big fight to make these instruments work. It's a really big fight because they go through the environmental authorities. They just look and say, okay, it will not have a negative effect on Natura 2000, but it was yesterday that we heard for Belasica, which is a park and a Natura 2000 site, where there's logging of trees with the little ones of the woodpeckers still in the holes. Now this is something that needs to be avoided, I mean, and if you do the logging is not forbidden in Natura. The question is, you do it after birds are hatching to avoid the season, and to do it on small patches, leave dead wood, etc. I'm not going to get into details, but there are ways that you can do forestry and still keep the species that depend on nature, on the forest, and still keep the general landscape of the forest. What are the good examples for forestry? There are, you've probably heard of certification systems for forest management. For the moment, they are popular in Bulgaria. More and more companies try to get certified because they get the logo certification gives them markets because there is demand for this wood in the West mainly. But for example, you know that IKEA soon opened near Sofia. IKEA only works with certified wood. They don't buy wood timber if it's not certified. Yeah, there is another system that is compatible with Natura 2000, and it's the so-called Saarland method. For example, here in my organization, we have a project together with the park and the forestry agency. There is a pilot implementation of this method. It's very simple. It's for young forests. They don't do afforestation. They just let the undergrowth. Undergrowth, they develop. They choose their main aim is to produce expensive, good quality timber. They choose trees of the future, so-called trees of the future, and they try to eliminate their competitors through non-hard methods, non-hard intervention methods with just. What you see there on the picture is they practically kill the trees, but they're the competitor trees, but not with hardwood. They can work during the breeding season of birds, and when they do logging, there's special tracks in the forest where the machines. These are the only places where the machines could go, in order not to tramp the undergrowth around. But this is a pilot, this is a long-term thing, and we'll see what happens. There is another element of sustainability that is also important. You know that Bulgaria has quite bad road infrastructure. Roads are not very good, we don't have enough motorways, and basically this is something that is under development and will be something that will be under development in the future. The question is how we do it and where. This is again one of the examples of Bulgarka Nature Park. There is a project for crossing Stara Planina mountain, a quick crossing of Stara Planina, but it goes directly in the middle of the park. And to make the crossing quicker, there is a tunnel envisaged, but the bad news is that the tunnel is very short. That means that the rest of the road will be inside the park, logging century-old forests that are habitats of bear, wolf, lynx, and it's a very, very wild part of Bulgarka. So for the moment, we are in a big fight to try and convince the road authorities to make a bigger tunnel. Of course, it is more expensive. Yes, it will be more expensive, but it will be also have some technical benefits for people, like the quicker crossing of Stara Planina, the preservation of biodiversity, the preservation of recreational opportunities of the area. This way, they will avoid the freezing of the road, because this will be a road high in the mountain, 800 meters above sea level. So this is also how you build your infrastructure is another very important element of sustainability. And now we have the opportunity to develop our network in peace with the Natura sites, with the parks, and not because, I don't know, to me this is absurd. We make these parks, we make these Natura 2000 sites, and we cross them in the middle with huge highways and big huge trucks, and it's declared a trans-European corridor. You can imagine all these tiers and all that. This is not the way we should go forward with our Natura 2000 network.
In what area was this?
This is Bulgarka Nature Park. This is above the town of Gabrovo.
Okay.
Nelly.
Yeah. And it's I think we do have the opportunity to both develop infrastructure and to preserve the network. So it's a question of prioritizing. It's a question of managing your money well, because you only have a certain pot of money for roads. So it's a question of discussion and prioritizing. Okay.
Okay, my first question actually is about the Bulgarka Nature Park. You said there is a trans-European transport corridor. Is it planned to go there?
That's a very interesting question, because our understanding of the trans-European corridor is not there. Because the trans-European transport corridor has to link Bucharest, Russe, Veliko Trnovo, Stara Zagora, Dimitrovgrad, and Alexandroupolis. And our understanding is that this corridor goes through Rimboas, or Prohoda na Republika Pass. It's a 20-kilometer east. There's a good way, three lane. It was renovated soon, and it's very quick. And this is our understanding, but it's not the understanding of the road agency. So.
Well, we do know that Bulgarian people eat roads. So
Every day. We know.
My question actually is, if they decide to do it across the nature park, which is also under Natura 2000, right?
Yes.
Can they get money from the EU?
Yes.
And isn't
That's
there
the
a
trouble,
conflict of interest?
There is a conflict of interest.
How does the EU deal
Our
with it?
job is to convince the EU not to do this, but
Okay.
It's complicated because the EU is interested in spending money. Yeah, that's the fact. They're interested in spending money,
Okay.
and it's our job, and it's a very difficult job to convince them that you can spend money this way or that way.
Okay.
It's a question of how you spend your money.
If I may add just a little after interrupting. There are a list of very general so-called eligible activities under the EU support, under the EU funds. And they are very general. So construction of roads very generally is a eligible activity. And if there are now some additional circumstances not allowing, forbidding such financing, they can take money from the European funds. Nevertheless, meanwhile, they could ruin somehow the protected areas. This is the way the EU programs work.
Generally, there was a similar case in Krasnogorsk in the past, where now there is a decision to construct a big tunnel, 13 kilometers long, in order to protect a Natura 2000 site, Krasnogorsk. It was a big fight. It was almost already 10 years long campaign was in order to reach that decision, but the role of the EU was a little bit contradictory. Let's say that initially the role of the EU was very important to to bring us to positive decision, because they push the government to really not to have unsustainable decision. They wanted government to have full environmental impact assessment of the whole motorway and to assess all alternatives. But when things reached the expensive decision, a tunnel, EU started to be not so sure. Is that the right decision?
They don't want to spend so much.
But at that time, things were already in the Berne Convention.
Okay.
And when the things went to the Berne Convention, we had a campaign to open a file, a case file. That means to recognize the case as a problematic case, so that we do not fulfill as a country. At that time we were not a member state still, and so it is obligatory convention at the Council of Europe. So we lobbied at the Berne Convention to open a case file. That means to open a monitoring in the Berne Convention at the Council of Europe to this case, that Bulgaria do not fulfill the obligations to the Berne Convention. And it was very strange that the position of the representative of the European Commission was against the opening of the file. And we fight the European Commission in the Berne Convention Committee, and only because we get the support of the representatives of the European countries like Germany, like France, like some other important countries in the Berne Convention which were outside of the Berne Convention, like Norway, Switzerland, which had strong pressure, we succeeded to open the file. Even the European Commission pushed the Berne Convention Secretariat, and Secretariat decided not to open the file. And when we went to the Berne Convention Committee, we received an answer: we will not open the file. It is not possible to open the file. And it was 2 days lobbying work to convince all other participants to open the file. And we succeeded to open the file, never mind. It was a big battle. And we opened the file. And because the open file, finally, all the campaign went in right direction. Now we have a tunnel, 13 kilometers long. And now, and of course, the representatives of the Commission were very angry. And they are still very angry. And always this guy, Demeter, when he saw me, we are your friends. We help you. Why you are so bad, to the Commission? You are very bad to the Commission. Angels, Bulgarian angels are very bad angels. Okay. Oh, it was 2006, something like that. Yeah. I think we opened the case file in 2005 or something like that. For example, Polish case, there was a similar Via Baltica. There was a similar case for Poland, and they didn't succeed to open a file because they were already member states, and the Commission there were very strong and said, "Oh, we will deal with the case." But they were strong in that case in Via Baltica. So it is always strange what will be the position with the Commission, but Commission is bureaucratic body, and sometimes it should be pushed to act. It should be very clear. They are bureaucrats, and sometimes in order to really bring your case to good decision, you should lobby strongly, and sometimes you should push them from outside. Be clear about that. And sometimes their decisions are typically political. I'm absolutely sure that now, because they are from the Conservative Party, they stayed behind the Conservative government. And they, for example, tried to close some cases. They closed some cases only because they had some political agreements. So always take political issues in your mind when you have communication commission, and never rely only on arguments. It's a political question. And when you are in communication commission, it's not strictly administrative issue. It's also a political issue. And if you want to achieve result, lobby them, push them. For example, I think we lost some battles now. For example, for Finland, only because we were not we were not enough thinking about that. It is also a political issue, and didn't push them enough. For example, through ombudsman, through European Parliament, petition committee, etc. Just to really to move them in right direction.
Dan?
Аз имам една молба, благодаря. Много темата е изключително ценна за всяко едно селище. I'm sorry that I'm not speaking English, but I'm not sure that my English is so fluent to speak. Превод, който превежда, да. Така, в Чипровци започва подготовката на плана за развитие за следващия програмен период. Първата ми молба е всички, които имате някакви съвети от експертна гледна точка и от гледна точка идеи, да ни подадете какво би трябвало да влезе в общинския план 2015-2020 година, което е важно за устойчивото развитие. Значи, това е изключително ценно за нас. От гледна точка възможностите на Натура, за първи път, примерно местните хора имат възможност да кандидатстват за допълнителните плащания, които са по Натура, което беше като че ли най-добрата кампания да се разбере, че Натура съществува, т.е. че някой ще може да вземе някакви средства за това, че всъщност земята му представлява някаква ценност. Ако имате съвети от гледна точка, примерно нашото НГО, на което съм председател, Чипровци, алтернатива и развитие, как да популяризира сред местното население Натура, също ще бъда благодарна. Във връзка с проблемите, когато хората разберат за едно инвестиционно намерение, че е във вреда на природата, за нас Натура е нещо различно, нали? В смисъл, Натура е за експертите, за нас е природата, Чипровския Балкан, вече много често е късно. Значи ние спряхме две открити кариери, спряхме построяването на ветрогенераторния парк, така че свършихме нещо, но всъщност инвестиционните намерения държавата ги отдава под концесия. Тоест, органите, които са дали своето съгласие, РИОСВ казва, няма проблем за Натура. Да, което е изумително. Как местните хора да знаят, че нещо е лошо, след като специалистите казват, няма проблем да построите път до върховете, няма проблем да сложите ветрогенераторния парк да го построите, няма проблем в момента за трите ВЕЦа, които съществуват и за трите, които ще бъдат построени. Държавата отдава. Няма проблем за открития рудник, който мислехме, че сме спряли на 100%, но в един момент се оказва, че държавата прехвърля от един концесионер на друг, т.е. концесията се предлага на ново и ние трябва да следим. Ами ако аз не работя в общината и случайно не разбирам, нали, много често нещата ще бъдат факт в момента, в който ще разберат. Гората се сече, най-голямата болка на местните хора, че гората се сече поголовно над района, който ходихте на разходка, това е защитена територия, това е Натура. Гората се сече планово. Това е страшното. И ние не можем да направим нищо. А местните хора знаят, над водата не се сече. Значи, хората, които товарят с примерно 10 дървета на магарето, биват санкционирани от служителите за незаконна сеч. Огромните камиони, които изкарват, нали, примерно гората за продан, те го правят законно. И всичко, което унищожава природата де-факто и което нарушава всички правила на Натура, се явява одобрено от специалистите, които се наричат еколози в съответните служби, включително община, Министерство на околната среда и така.
Чия юрисдикция това сечене?
Ами в Чипровци има група от горско стопанство, те бяха Берковица управление, след това сега мисля, че ги обединиха във Враца, но факт е, че няколко пъти, примерно, чипровчани са готови да изгонят горските, но това няма да реши проблема, защото всъщност горските просто работят, нали? Друг е въпросът, че те си направиха фирмите, техни фирми играят за себе.
Етически въпрос.
Защото
действително протекцията за този тип фирми идва от... И това всички местни хора го знаят в цяла България. Много високо в парламента обикновено има депутати, които лобират точно за окрупняване на тези региони и за издаването на разрешение.
Да.
Ами, вие те са под юрисдикцията на РДГ, това е регионална дирекция по горите Берковица. Тоест това е институцията, която трябва да контролира сечите. Тъй като те се движат, нали, разделиха в направиха горска реформа, сега тези, които стопанисват горите, са отделени от тези, които контролират сечите. В смисъл, базата е да има контрол. Така, на теория това беше замисъла. А иначе сечите се организират от държавните горски предприятия. Централата има във Враца, то се казва северо-западно предприятие. Принципът е такъв, че сигналите трябва да се подадат до съответната регионална дирекция по горите, тъй като тя осъществява контрола. Но много често проблемът е, че тези неща са напълно законни. Аз това казвам, че на хартия много неща са добре, обаче такива врътки има с план извлечения и с чудеса в горите, че могат да се направят закони. Мои колеги в момента се опитват да движат една кампания за старите гори и от цялата страна валят сигнали за проблеми с сечите, тъй като е сериозна интензификацията на ползването на горите в последните 2 години. Това е сериозен проблем навсякъде и те не могат да реагират и да помогнат на всички. Опитаха се да направят едни съвети какво да се направи, когато се види сеч в гората, в която има съмнение дали... Аз ще ви пратя този линк и на вас да кажа, че на сайта на WWF има съвети какво, нали, местните хора, понеже NGO-та всъщност имат малък капацитет, истината и не могат с всичките сигнали да се справят. Нали, идеята е пък да обучиме, ако можем, максимален брой хора, които да действат на място. Понякога има проблем с различни местни инициативи, защото хората биват заплашвани по някакъв начин или са зависими за работните си места. Тогава нали, това, което се случва, че се обединяват и сигналите се подават от група хора, така че да се намали. Ние за това сме. И това е една от причините от коалиция за достойна природа в България, защото тъй като се занимаваме с някои от случаите, които имаме на среща си разни неприятни хора, неприятни институции и ако сме заедно, шанса да ни отстрелват един по един, грубо казано, нали, е по-малък. Така че това е едно от нещата, хората да се обединяват. Второ, когато се пише сигнала, да се праща копие или до медиите, или до неправителствени организации, така че този проблем да стане публичен, за да не може РДГ Берковица да го сложи в чекмеджето или нещо такова. Тоест, комбинация, когато се захапеш някакъв такъв проблем, трябва да има комбинация от такива чисто правните действия, нали, да уведомиш институцията, да поискаш проверка и публичните действия, да направиш това действие публично, за да имаш защита и за да имаш, нали, по-голяма шанс за успех. Нали. Ако че се шуми за един случай, той има по-голям шанс за успех.
Чисто практически, опазването на горите в Натура 2000 се опира на 2 показателя. Тези гори трябва да имат определена средна възраст и трябва да се опазват определен процент стари дървета и стари гори, за да бъде в рамките на изискванията на Natura 2000, но за да може да се установили дали те са спазили тези изисквания, трябва да се прегледа целият лесоустройствен план. И това е малко експертна работа. Но ако имаме местен човек, с който да се свърши заедно тази работа и примерно вземеме един специалист по лесовъд, може да се направи тази работа и да се види примерно лесоустройствения план за горите в района, дали съответства на тези изисквания. Защото те вече са одобрили официално тези изисквания. Тоест, Агенцията по горите официално ги има одобрени. И ако се окаже, че лесоустройственият план, по който работят, не отговаря на тези изисквания, това е твърде вероятно. Той може вече от тук нататък да бъде атакуван и да се окаже, че сечите, които извършват, са незаконни. Защото въпросът е, че ние, за да подадем сигнал, трябва да ги хванем на нарушение.
Не, ти можеш да подадеш сигнал и при съмнение.
Да, при съмнение и ще те изкарат по тънката лайсна и няма смисъл да подаваш сигнал, защото те винаги ще ти кажат, всичко е наред.
А нарушение какво означава? Как се констатира нарушение?
Трябва да се констатира нарушение, че ти трябва да си го хванеш сам нарушение, защото иначе те винаги ще ти кажат, няма нарушение.
Как ще го докажеш?
Трябва да видиш в онова, което са одобрили, има наредност. И че по този начин да докажеш, че дейността им не съответства на изискванията.
Да, но става дума, примерно, да докажеш, но те казват, ние такива сечи не сме извършвали изобщо.
Значи, те сечите ги извършват, защото са им планирани, но трябва да докажеш, че те са ги планирали неправилно и оттам нататък да искаш ревизия на цялата им дейност.
И след това?
И след това вече се започва битката да се ревизира плана, както е прият и тия сечи да бъдат намалени. За да не могат да изнасят толкова дървесина. Това е. По принцип, самите изисквания са доста големи. Значи, примерно, средната възраст на буковите гори трябва да е 80 години. Средната възраст. Което означава, че най-възрастните гори ще трябва да са на 160 години. Казвам за буковите гори. За дъбовите 60 години. Което пак е голяма възраст. Почти никъде в България не са достигнати тия възрасти. Това са доста високи показатели. А средната възраст. И интензивността на сечите при такива показатели въобще не може да им бъде висока по никакъв начин. И те в момента навсякъде ги надвишават, защото това е тази политика, която е МОФАСа, го знаете всички депутати Емил Димитров, че нашите гори имат много висок прираст и трябва по тази причина да изсичаме целия прираст. И почва да се кът поголовно. И всъщност те навсякъде ги нарушават тия показатели. И просто ние това нещо трябва да го покажем. Но никъде не сме направили този анализ. Ако има хора местни, които действително са склонни да проведат такава кампания, може да се направи. Просто трябва да седнем действително да го направим.
Значи, как ще коментирате, че износа на дървесина от района става през стил, събота срещу неделя обикновено, в целият тук регион, западна Стара планина, включително в Белоградчик, където впрочем гората с черен бор е вековна гора, вероятно и хилядолетна, която също се сече поголовно в най-невероятния ландскейп, пейзаж, който съм виждал аз.
Борът е много запазен, защото не е на
Не. По ландшафтната конвенция.
По ландшафтната конвенция нямаме инструмент за запазване и трябва да го създадем.
Не, той е обитател на горски няма. Зависи от това къде е.
За горски видове нямаме режим. Значи, това, което пък е нещо, което е важно, за съжаление, те създадоха режими само за опазване на горите като горско местообитание. Не направиха никакви режими за опазване на горските видове. Тоест, те разглеждаха само тези горски хабитати, които са изборени като горски хабитати. Тоест, букови гори са седи кой си код. Смърчови гори седи кой си код. Но видовете, които са в приложение пък 2 на закона, които живеят в горите, пример мечки, прилепи горски, тинтрими, костенурки и така нататък. Т.е. видовете, които са свързани с горите, за тях не създадоха необходимите изисквания как трябва да се опазват в горите. И това все още липсва. Тоест това също е една стъпка, която тепърва трябва да се прави. И да, имаме ги само като методики за опазване на благоприятния статус, са одобрени от Министерството на околната среда и водите, но не и все още горските да са наясно как трябва да ги прилагат. Тоест тук още няма връзката между двете ведомства.
Но на въпросът ти как ще коментираме защо се изнася целото срещу неделя, това вече наистина е въпрос, защото ако са законни, защо става против мисъл, мен не ми е ясно.
Събота и неделя през нощта, това го чувам на много места по селата, тук в Чипровтси, в Белоградчик, защото ми го разказаха.
12 без 15 аз излизам готова да снимам. Обикновено вечер, събота, обясняват ми в горското, че тъй като по-малък е трафика, но всичко е законно, че има билети.
Те винаги ще кажат така,
Естествено.
да ти кажат просто.
Трябва да се провери.
Аз единственото, което казвам е, нали знаете, че аз снимам. Нали, това да ви, така, ако може по някакъв начин да ви насочва, че нали, смисъл, все пак се следи нещо. Аз знам, че всичко е законно. Знам, че не мога да ги хвана, но все пак, около, понеже част от...
Само да ви покажа за Белградчик, за тази гора става дума. Ето за този пейзаж.
Много
Това се
красен
тече
част
по
от
Главно, това
пейзажа.
е...
Ще го видим в събота всички. Там ще ходим.
Ами правете снимки.
Сигурно се ще даде.
Това е черен
Това
бор,
ще ни бъде
обаче...
купона, да. Ще се залегне в гората и ще правим снимки на закона.
Да, но той е естествен.
Не, съдебен. Това е
Не е сега.
култура. Но... Това около него не знам какво е. Не знам дали него са.
Може би не съм показал правилния черен бор. Нали, тази, който расте по скалите, убит така, със сигурност не е съден там.
Ама защо пък се крият по скалите?
Не ти го съдат, ама тя гората просто си е част, нали, тя ще
има
почва да се Катерина, нали.
I have another question concerning the energy. I mean, you were very critical about wind parks and VET and so on. So what, in your opinion, is the energy future of Bulgaria? I mean, what is the alternative to this green energy then? I mean,
I'm also a typical green, so my opinion is that renewables are the future. But the question is where? So alternatives. I wanted to be a part of the discussion, so to see your opinion, to see your vision. In fact, Bulgaria already proposed compromise in its strategy for development of renewables, and the compromise was territorial planning. This territorial planning showed places where renewables shouldn't be situated. That means restricted areas for development of such projects. That restricted areas are exactly Natura 2000 sites, and for wind turbines also some other areas where there is proved migration of birds. So for all types of renewables, that means wind turbines, photovoltaics and hydropower plants, these restrictions are already official decision. This is regarding any new developments. Also, strong mitigation measures are placed for hydropower plants. All already constructed hydropower plants should include such mitigation measures, including installing facilities for measuring water quantities in the rivers, automatic facilities, with distance with signals which are sent in distance to the authorities. Also to rebuild their walls, their dams, with construction of fish passages, effective fish passages, or direct reconstruction of their dams from so-called Tyrol type to Alpine style, where there is no dam at all. So water catchment places to different type without dam. Some other things which directly change the problem with the fragmentation of rivers, and also obligation to leave more water in the rivers. At least 75% of mean annual and mean month river values to be left in the river in order to allow this is a so-called ecological minimum to be left in the rivers. So, however, many of these requirements are still not enforced. So, we are waiting. This is applied regarding new constructions, this plan, so this is a big achievement. The big problem is that especially for photovoltaics, still there is no real development in the direction to enhance construction of these photovoltaics on the roofs of our buildings, because this is a real future of this sector, and really it is not developing now in the country. And there are real problems in that direction which are related to the ownership of that buildings, and many other restrictions which are really do not help developers to develop this sector, because this is a real alternative. It is not necessary to place these facilities, these photovoltaics in the land. We can place them on the buildings, and this is a real alternative, but it is not developing in our country, and it's a big problem.
Само да добавя, че при нас в института в момента се защитава една дисертация, която е за фотоволтаичните паркове. И колегата беше направил анализ, контент анализ на медиите по повод на инвестициите в тези паркове. И беше установил, че в повечето случаи публикациите са за това, че е нужна една голяма инвестиция, че това едва ли не е достъпно само за големите инвеститори, като изобщо не се оказват тези възможности да ги сложиш в къщата си, да се даде повече информация как малки и средни инвеститори да се възползват. Тоест, не се използва цялата гама от възможности, а действително се цели стимулирането на монополни големи играчи в този сектор, което е проблем.
For example, just to add one point after. For example, if you are a small producer, but if you will be any producer now, you have a big troubles to be switched on to the network now, because you just will be not switch on to the network. The company which is the owner of the network will not allow you to do that. So this is real problem. How you will become a small producer of this type if you are not allowed to enter the network? Nobody will agree, of course, to invest his money in this type of business if you have no chance to become a producer.
As you just said, we have many opportunities we don't exploit, and maybe you should ask a real lawyer, environmental lawyer working for NGO or the Landscape Convention to help you, because it's really technical, it could be boring. Every day talking about the conventions and the laws, it's quite awful, and there is the best experts for each countries. They are paid really well to analyze each word in a convention that could have bad impacts for their own economy. And sometimes we are using some words that they are arguments for the opposant, the major company or governments, like the Landscape Convention and the Berne Convention and the Natura, the Directive Habitat. They are for wild species and habitats, migration species, which is not rare species, it's not disappearing species, dangerous species. It's just wild species, and the place is kind of a spot, an airport for birds to make a peaceful time so they can move away after. So you know, sometimes we want to say, oh, there is dangerous species dying, but the law doesn't protect these species. It's another species. And when we can say in France we do the same, we have coal power plants. It's bad, so you have to use renewable energy. So they say, okay, so we put some solar plants and wind turbines, and you say it's bad. So it's true that when you say we have to take care where we put those plants, it's okay. But according to the Landscape Convention or Natura 2000, if you remove those solar plants, it's okay for nature, because the Landscape Convention takes care of what the human being see around him. It's the vision. If it looks like normal, natural, it's okay for the convention. And it's so for the tunnel also. You know, it's always a balance system problem. If you don't want the road crossing the Natura 2000 site, so we make a tunnel. And if the tunnel is too small, because it's too expensive, so maybe you can ask, we need always an alternative scenario. So maybe in Switzerland, because they are making it, so they push for this kind of infrastructure. They make like kind of eco walls or eco bridge that you can't see the road, and the gas, they are going straight away to stratosphere. So it's always, we have to take care of the words we are using. It's like a conservation. Conservation, it's not preservation, it's not protection. It looks like similar for everybody. But conservations, in a French way, in the juridical way, it's kind of, oh, this part, it could disappear. So we have to protect it, we have to conserve it. It's like nothing has to change. It's a John Muir idea in the beginning of the 20th century, like we have to protect it like a reserve, like a zoo. Huh? And so nothing changed, but nothing really live inside. And we are in a development, we are in an ecosystem process. So sometimes we need some adjustment. And conservation means nothing change. And sometimes it's good when you have like a huge highway crossing and fragmenting the place. Sometimes for the species we have to adapt it. Because it's again because of the law. There is the island Corsica in France. I'm not approving what they are doing, but there is people like they making like in Spain huge buildings for coast and tourism, and the law is really strict. It's what is wild, we have to protect it. But if there is always a beach with people they are swimming, so it's a human area, so you can do whatever you want on this area. And in Corsica there are people, they are like scratching the wild area, and they say, okay, now I will build a house. And but Corsican, they say no, it's wild area, so they bomb the house, and they say, oh, it's gas problem, and they oblige them to remove everything, and there are no more house in the neighborhood. But I'm not approving this. Thank you. This is
Now we have a resolution of our problems.
But do you recommend these tools?
No, he doesn't. I just tell you no. He doesn't. It's to tell you how it's juridically important.
I'm kidding, of course.
No. Do we have time for another question? How are we?
Better is the
Well, I think Frank has something to say, or you are finished?
No.
Okay.
Actually, I wanted to ask you something which is more specific. You mentioned those certificates from forests that IKEA prefers.
Yeah.
Probably, so that I don't take much time of this discussion, can you send me more information about forest certificates? I'm asking as a publisher too, because we are looking at recycled paper and certified paper, and we would like to know the truth about certificates. There have been some discussions about certificates that are not really environmentally friendly.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd like to.
Okay, what happens is that a company that is a wood producing company, it pays to a certification company to make an audit. And the audit checks the environmental practices and the social practices. For example, they're not only auditing how the forest is managed, they're also checking whether the workers have helmets, they have protection clothes and stuff
Safety.
like that. So if certain criteria are not met, they make a recommendation that until the year so and so you achieve these goals. You leave a certain amount of dead wood. You make sure you don't cut during the nesting period. So if you're a wood producing company, you get the logo for a certain period. Then there will be an audit, but again, it's the wood processing company that pays for this audit. And probably the worries come from the fact that it's actually you pay for your logo and you can get it any time. That's what you mean, that you can get it even if you don't meet all the standards.
Well, I'm asking if there are different certifying agencies, and some
Yes,
have been
yes.
proven to be more strict.
There are different certification systems and there are different certifying companies. What usually WWF globally is working with is the so-called FSC, which is the Forestry
Stewardship Council.
Council.
That's the one on the fire right now.
Aha, okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'll send you some information.
Okay, but there's also another system that is PFC.
Yep.
It's developed by Scandinavian countries, and I'm not too much in depth into this. I will send your question to my colleague Nelly Doncheva.
Sure.
She's the forester expert in the. Yes, I've heard that there are attacks against the FSC certificates in the system, and for me the truth is that there should be watchdog. There should be some system of watchdogs of external people who are not paid directly by the wood producing company to check if these things are true. That's the real test. But this was just one example that for a market instrument that ideally supports good forest management. It's not always true, I know. But it's just there are different ways that you can achieve good forest management, and it was one of them. It may or may not work. I guess it depends on the case.
Just short. Sometimes the answer is not in environmental sector, because we build our society in sectorial principles, and for example, for buildings, if you fight for environmental preservation of the site, they will say, okay, we have to see, to analyze, to audit it, and it could take 5, 7, 10 years. If you say, maybe the construction model it's not quite good, they have to destroy the buildings, and when they do it 3 times in the same coast, they stop to build the buildings. And for the polluted river, in France there were some problems that they would to defend it to protect nature. But if you want to protect the European citizen in the common market with the public health, so it took just 3 months to stop all the stuff in the area and to clean it the way. But you don't protect nature, you protect European citizens.
Another two.
But who cares about citizens? I mean,
No, you can't say that. European Union, you are, no, you can't say.
My impression is that nobody cares.
Yeah, it's an
about-
impression.
I have to say that with this case, with the tunnel through Bulgar Nature Park and the road, we're working together with an initiative committee from Gabrovo, where the people, they are, it's part of the same project, but the project that is approved, as it is approved now, it affects 5 quarters of the city of Gabrovo. So they want to prove a trans-European transport corridor on the top of these people. So they've been fighting for quite a long time, and both the European Parliament and the Commission have closed their case. And now the case is open because of the Natura 2000 problem, and not because of the people problem. And the funny situation is that maybe in this case it will be Natura that will be helping these people with their city problem. And for me, this is very, very, I mean, this is an absurd situation. But that's the truth. Nobody cares about people. It's actually, in terms of legislation, species are more important than people. That's absurd, and I don't know how to change it, and maybe this is a good point for discussion. But for me, this is a problem because these people have been overlooked in a very ugly way.
You're right. You're right. But as you said, with Natura 2000, it's a compensation matter. So if there is no huge, massive health problem, they pay the compensation for people, they move somewhere else, and they will be happy and healthy.
But they don't want to.
They don't want to, but they accept it. No.
But for Natura 2000 compensation is not acceptable.
So you have to prove they didn't accept it.
Cultural way, it's absurd.
This is another tricky system.
I would be happy to
You
move.
don't. It's just the point where NGO they can't act because they are just outside countries. They are just consultatory process. You need local association, and in a lot of time the association is not enough representative to be huge in the balance process with government. But if you have regional authorities, that can help.
The trouble is that in this case, the whole government machine is against them.
Yeah, that's the problem.
The municipality, it's the state, it was actually the president who made the first big.
You're right. You know, but it's like the same for the buildings or for the deforestry around. It's a legal matter, so there is someone responsible for the damage. If it's the Serbian or Russian mafia, what you can do to the court with this? So you can use someone, is a foreigner from the area, and they destroy it, and they say, okay, so now it's destroyed. What we can do? Let's make road or power plants, whatever. It's destroyed already. It's legally. It's absurd maybe, but it's the fact. We have to find the solution in another way.
Here we will find.
There is a problem with this point of view because it is a point of view according to this that these people who build some such kind of building, a hotel or something called a center, are real investors and real businessmen. But the cases in Bulgaria, the most of the cases with this huge
war scale,
this mega projects, hyper projects, they didn't want to spend money with this They don't care about it, spending money, because they just wash money with this project. They just want to wash their money for the traffic of the drugs, of farms, of speculations on the border with cigarettes, and traffic with people and prostitutes. This is the real thing, and it's not the only the Bulgarians. They are mostly the Russian mafia, the Ukrainian mafia, and it's also supported from United States and from other countries and other this international mafia.
You're right, but at the end it's a court matter. So if you have no 51% of the local residents against the project, officially, you can't ask the beach, the sand or the trees to go to courts to express themselves.
So
The matter is there.
what Frank is saying is that there must be local support for anything to happen. Probably our mistake has been that we try to solve things as outsiders, but when we actually convince the people there that they have to take the action into their hands, then it's going to start happening, if I understand you correctly. Okay.
In a way, that's what Stuil is doing with human rights.
Yeah,
actually.
That's the point, because if not, it's kind of, we call it an insurance matter. It's like foreigners is telling you what you have to do in your own country.
Well, our practices in sustainable development about this case, because I understand mostly from the as an anthropologist maybe this of the people, of the what's happened with the mass of the human personality, of the real individuals, not only as a statistic, not only as such kind of population or as a species or something else, but the human personality, what happened with the individuals, with every one of us. And I think we have our practices here in Bulgaria with this struggling with the mafia. I think that's the problem here is, and maybe it's the problem of the whole globalization, as many people alarm us years ago, as Zygmunt Bauman. It's the problem with the global criminalization of the world. It's maybe it's there is no such kind of law to who is saying that it's criminal to make these speculations and this traffic and so on. Maybe always invisible, but people know it, and the people, in their opinion, in their point of view, they are not specialists. For all the people, this is criminal. This is criminal work to make this traffic and speculation and lies and trade with people and so on. Maybe the problem is with the criminalization, and it's not criminalization only in Bulgaria, because that's the point of view maybe of CNN and so on, but the real thing is that the globalizatory criminalization of the whole globe. And I think we have our practices to make something about this for and to make effects with this struggle with the global criminal world. And maybe I just would speak in Bulgarian. Значи, тъй като тъй като Йорданка Динева от Българска фондация Биоразнообразие поради внезапно проблеми здравословни няма да може да присъства да ни разкаже точно за тази страна на въпроса, за коалиция за да остане природа в България. Аз се извинявам от името организаторите, затова си позволихме малко по-дълга дискусия. Сега обявяваме кафе пауза на 15 минути, след което предлагам да направим само няколко думи встъпление за какво става дума, нали, с тези, които не знаят. Може би и да дадем думата на Румяна Стоилова, която като част от Българска фундация Биоразнообразие също тази природозащитна коалиция. Почивка до кога да дадем? Колко